Hey guys, welcome to week 5 of 20 for 20. I want to first off thank you so much for coming along for this journey. I know that you could spend your time so many other places, but I want you to know that I am praying for your marriage. I'm praying that each week when we discuss topics, that it spurs conversation and spurs growth in your marriage. Well, this week we are talking about seasons of disappointment, and I'm outside in the freezing cold because I really want you to get a mental picture of what it's like to be in a season of harsh disappointment, right? Because we all face it in our marriages. Disappointment is a real thing. I wish it wasn't, but it totally is. But if I want the season to change and I want healthy life to come in the next season, then I need to tend to what I'm dealing with right now, right? And if that's disappointment, then I better walk and I better face it. Well, wouldn't you know that we serve a really cool God? And Jesus, when he walked this earth, he taught in parables. So he didn't talk in this Christianese spiritual hubbub. He didn't do that. He got down to our level and was like, okay, here, this is what it looks like. And I really love the picture he gives us in Matthew 13. And this is from the Message Bible. And it says this: what do you make of this? A farmer planted seed. As he scattered the seed, some of it fell on the road, and the birds ate it. And some fell in the gravel, and it sprouted quickly, but didn't put down roots. Some, when the sun came up, it withered just as quickly. I lost my place. And some fell in the weeds. As it came up, it was strangled by the weeds. Have you been there? You're just strangled by the weeds. I get it. But this right here is what Jesus has in store for our marriages. And I know he's not specifically talking about marriage here, but he's using it for us to apply in every area of our life. So we're applying it to marriage. But this is what he has in store for your marriage. And it says, some fell on good earth and produced a harvest beyond our wildest dreams. Do you want a marriage beyond your wildest dreams? Do you want to walk into a season of really great fruit and really, these trees behind me, they produce amazing fruit. But if we don't tend to them and don't trim them and prune them and take care of them, we're going to be super disappointed with the fruit it produces. So, one thing I know to be true about this portion of scripture is what I really hear Jesus saying is if it's valuable, it's vulnerable. That means our marriages are super vulnerable. And how does that come in? Often through disappointment. So how do we walk into seasons of change after a season of disappointment? I believe there's 5 really great ways that we can do this. And if I could get my paper to switch because my hands are freezing, I want to walk you through this. So over at NicoleHouse.com, you could print off these steps. And of course, you're not going to, I know that you're not going to sit down and step by step, but maybe you should. I really want you to work these steps and print them out. Write them out right now. Push the pause button and let's work through them. First thing, identify the disappointment. If there's disappointment and frustration going on in your marriage, identify it. Call it by name. Call it what it is. Stop pretending it's something else. And don't pretend to live in this little bubble that you're like, oh, I can't be disappointed because that's not what God has for me. Baloney. We all face disappointment, so just name it. Call it what it is. The next thing you need to do is recognize your feelings. These feelings of ours sometimes are super fickle, and they are not our boss. We have feelings, and yes, they're feelings, and sometimes they're really great feelings, but sometimes they're not right and they're not true. So take ownership of your feelings, recognize the real ones, and move forward by not letting them boss you around. Number 3. Okay, this is where I think a lot of us get stopped. We kind of get, and we stop here. And this is where we can't move into the next season of real great fruit, right? Because we're unable to have the conversation with our spouse and say, hey, I'm really disappointed and this is really hard for me. But one thing you can't do is, when Jesus is talking about the seeds, is if you've thrown seeds down, when we throw our seeds down, once we're married, those are the same garden. So the seeds that you are throwing in the garden, the seeds your spouse is throwing in the garden, they're all going to grow together. And if those seeds are full of weeds, they're going to be choked out. So you have to have the conversation to address the issues that come up. Stop avoiding it. If it's often it requires us to look back, and evaluate other seasons to be able to produce a good fruit in the next season. So we've identified the disappointment, we've recognized our own feelings, we've had the conversation. Have that conversation. The next thing you're going to do is take steps towards change. So we often repeat things over and over and over. That's why we take history classes, is so we stop doing that. Well, in our marriages, this is no exception. Okay, you have to take steps. So oftentimes I think in my head over the years of Tim and I is we have to plan to succeed. So I've heard over the years, like, failure to plan is planning to fail. I don't want to fail. None of us want to fail. So what is our plan of attack to not fail at this marriage thing? What are we doing to be different, to be set apart? What kind of seeds are we really sowing into our gardens? What are we sowing into the next season? So take steps towards change. If you're in a financial ruin, take steps to changing that. If you are emotionally not connecting, you have to put in action a plan. What is your plan to change your current situation? And last, back to week 2, determine that mindset. Your mindset, what goes in is going to come out. So you need to take ownership of your own thinking and think differently. Your financial situation isn't going to change overnight. So your spouse is also not in charge of your happiness, right? That should, you have to own your own happiness. And you have to get in there and tend to your garden and really get in there and work and do the hard work together. Walk through these steps. When you are facing disappointment, I want you to know Jesus is for your marriage. Hear me close. He's for you. He is for your marriage, and he wants to walk into the next season of really good fruit and really good living. Friends, thank you for being here. And I cannot wait to hear about the seasons of change that are coming your way because of the changes you are implementing and the journey you're willing to go on with your spouse. Do it, you guys. You married him or her. Get after them and produce some really great fruit. Bye, guys.